Today we're talking about photosynthesis and the chemical reactions that happen in plants to make the sugars used in cellular respiration. An overview of photosynthesis. This is the process by which plants and other autotrophs convert the energy of sunlight into sugars. Remember that an autotroph is something that makes its own food. This requires sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide. The overall equation is 6 CO2, those are carbon dioxide molecules, plus 6 H2O, those are water molecules, yield 1 molecule of C6H12O6, this is sugar or glucose, plus 6 O2, which is oxygen molecules. Photosynthesis occurs in the leaves of plants in organelles called the chloroplasts. The structure of a leaf allows photosynthesis to happen. Most of the photosynthesis occurs in the palisade layer. The palisade layer, as it's labeled here, includes the mesophyll, the bundle sheath, and the vein, right here. Gas exchange of carbon dioxide and oxygen occur at openings called stomata, surrounded by guard cells on the lower leaf surface. That would be down at the bottom of the leaf, right here. This allows gases to go in and out of the leaf. Photosynthesis transforms solar energy. We said when we were talking about thermodynamics that all energy amounts stay the same. The form of energy simply changes. And photosynthesis is one of the reactions that changes the form of energy from light into chemical energy. Organic molecules built by photosynthesis provide both the building blocks and the energy for cells. Plants use the raw materials, carbon dioxide and water. Photosynthesis occurs in chloroplasts. Chloroplasts are highly structured, membrane-rich organelles. Membrane-rich simply means there's lots of folds within a chloroplast. The more folds there are, the more chemical reactions can take place. And obviously the more chemical reactions that can happen, the more sugar molecules are produced. Let's look more closely at the structure of a chloroplast. The inner membrane is called the thylakoid membrane. This is found right here. Thickened regions called thylakoids they're the things that look like green pancakes stacked here. One stack of thylakoids is called a granum. The stroma is the liquid surrounding all of the thylakoids and the granum. Chlorophylls, there's more than one kind of chlorophyll, and other pigments are involved in the absorption of solar energy or light energy, and they reside within the thylakoid membranes of the chloroplasts. So the chlorophyll that we talk about is actually in these pancake stacks. Chlorophyll A is the most important photosynthetic pigment. So it's actually a green colored pigment. Other pigments are called antenna or accessory pigments, and they're also present in the leaf. You've got chlorophyll B, carotenoids, which are orange or red colored, and xanthophylls, which are yellow or brown. These pigments are embedded in the membranes of the chloroplast in groups called photosystems. You'll hear at the end me talk about photosystem 1 and photosystem 2. Everything with photosynthesis starts with sunlight. This is the light spectrum of sunlight. Notice that different colors have different light wavelengths. You can see that the numbers here and down here represent the wavelength that correspond to each color. Green falls at just slightly above 500 and running up to 550 or so. Pigments found in chlorophyll absorb various portions of visible light as seen in this absorption spectrum. The two major photosynthetic pigments are chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B. Both chlorophylls absorb violet, blue, and red wavelengths best, which means they are reflecting the color that we see. Very little green light is absorbed, most is reflected back, which is why it appears that we are seeing the green leaf. In the autumn, in the fall, the carotenoids and the xanthophylls start to show through. The carotenoids are the yellow-orange pigments which absorb every other color but yellow and orange. And when the chlorophyll breaks down in the fall, the yellow-orange pigments in the leaves show through, so we have the leaves changing color in the fall. So back to photosynthesis. There are two sets of reactions that happen in one cycle of photosynthesis. The first is called light-dependent reactions. These reactions obviously depend on light. And the second is called the light-independent reactions, also known as the Calvin cycle. The light-dependent reactions are the photo part of photosynthesis. This is where light is absorbed by the pigments. And the light-independent reactions are the synthesis part, which is where trapped energy from the sun, that light energy, is converted into the chemical energy of sugars. So this is kind of an overview of the entire photosynthesis process. You can see the green represents the entire chloroplast. The energy from the sun comes in, hits the thylakoids. Water needs to be there, oxygen needs to be there. That first part, this is the light-dependent reactions, they actually make some energy molecules that go and fuel this part, which is the light-independent reactions, or the Calvin cycle. And as the Calvin cycle goes through its process, the glucose or sugar molecules are formed. Light-dependent reactions occur on the thylakoid membranes, as we said. Light and water are required for this process. Energy storage molecules are formed. ATP, which is the one that we've learned about before, and then another one called NADPH. Oxygen gas is also made as a waste product. So it takes light and water, makes the energy, which then it uses, and gets rid of the oxygen gas. The dark reactions, which is what they used to be called, or the light-independent reactions, or the Calvin cycle, occur in the stroma. Remember, the stroma is the liquid part. Here, carbon dioxide is fixed into the sugar glucose. So carbon dioxide is used into and made into glucose. The ATP and the NADPH from the light-dependent reactions power the production of this glucose. So photosynthesis needs to make a little bit of energy in order to make the glucose. It doesn't, however, make enough energy, like we'll see in cellular respiration, for the rest of the plant processes to use that. This is a nice breakdown of what's actually happening inside the chloroplast. The light enters the chloroplast, water enters the chloroplast. The light reactions occur. The energy molecules are formed. These are like the charged batteries. Those batteries fuel or allow the Calvin cycle to run. You get a little carbon dioxide in there, and you have sugar being made. However, in that process, those charged batteries turned into used batteries, and oxygen is released. Since this is kind of hard to visualize, but we do have the magic of technology, we can watch these processes as animations. The only one I'm going to show you is the first one because it's the most basic. These two get pretty heavy into the more complex chemistry. If you'd like to see those, however, by all means let me know and I will send you the links.
Hello, we are meeting outside so that we can discuss the concept of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is the process that most plants go through to make food. Plants get the raw materials needed for photosynthesis from the soil, the air, and the sun. When it rains, water gets absorbed into the ground. Plants take in the water along with minerals from the soil through its roots. In the roots, plants have tubes called the xylem and phloem. These tubes, or veins, run throughout the plant and bring water and minerals from the soil to its leaves. Leaves bring in carbon dioxide from tiny pores, or stomata, on the underside of the leaf. Now that we have water and carbon dioxide in the leaf, we are ready for photosynthesis, right? Wrong. We're missing the key ingredient. Let's bring out the sun now, please. Now it gets really interesting. It is in the leaves of the plant that most of the action takes place. If we look at a leaf under a microscope, we see that right below the outer layer of cells, there is a layer of soft, elongated cells called palisade cells. Inside the palisade cell are tiny nodules called chloroplasts. Chloroplasts contain a special chemical called chlorophyll. It is chlorophyll, by the way, that gives plants a distinctive green color. When the light energy from the sun is captured by the chloroplast, it is stored in stacks of thylakoid membranes. It is in these membranes that the chemical reaction of photosynthesis takes place. Chlorophyll is the catalyst. Think of it as lining up all the molecules for the reaction. Let's take a look at this reaction. The absorbed light energy from the sun is used to join water and carbon dioxide to form glucose, or sugar. The glucose is then distributed throughout the plant as food. Oxygen is a byproduct of this reaction and is released back into the air. And that is how most plants prepare food for themselves. I hope you've enjoyed this brief description of photosynthesis. And I hope to see you again soon. Goodbye.
I recommend that you watch this video more than once so you can really understand the process of what's happening, and make sure, of course, that you answer your questions and submit those to me. If you have any questions, let me know.